Joe Biden's health secretary says it's the government's business to know your vaccination status. Several whistleblowers have come forward to describe the terrible conditions for migrant children. Plus, the Utah chapter of BLM says the American flag is a symbol of hate. All that and more. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is the 13-Minute News Hour.
God bless the United States of America.
Okay, friends, welcome to the show and happy Friday. I hope you had a great week. If you're new to the show, thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to start with the government because it is coming door to door asking about your vaccination status. Now, is that the government's business? Should the government be involved in coercing people to get the vaccine? Those were the questions posed to HHS Secretary Xavier Becerra during a recent interview on CNN. And his responses were just stunning. First, in reaction to this announcement that Joe Biden plans to go door to door asking you about your vaccination status, Representative Dan Crenshaw tweeted this. How about don't knock on my door? You're not my parents. You're the government. Make the vaccine available and let people be free to choose. Why is that concept so hard for the left? Good question, but it's a very difficult concept for the left. The Biden administration, as you'll soon see, seems to think that our rights are granted to us by the government, that they are bestowed upon us by the federal government. Wrong. Here's another response, this one from Representative Andy Biggs. It's none of the government's business knowing who has or hasn't been vaccinated. So the CNN host put up those tweets from Crenshaw and Biggs and asked Becerra for his reaction. Asked him, is it the government's business to ask people about their vaccination status? Here's his response.
Brianna, perhaps we should point out that the federal government has had to spend trillions of dollars to try to keep Americans alive during this pandemic. So it is absolutely the government's business. It is taxpayers' business if we have to continue to spend money to try to keep people from contracting COVID and helping reopen the economy.
Where do you even start? First of all, he sounds like some kind of gangster saying, we spent all this money on you. Now we own you. Now you have to do what we say and we can do whatever we want. And then the government doesn't need to do anything more. There's a vaccine out there. A lot of people are taking it. Some aren't. Let it be. If you want to be vaccinated, great, go for it. But the economy is opening up already. We're not waiting on the federal government to allow us to do that. Let people move on with their lives. Get vaccinated if you want to or not. But the strong arm tactics have got to stop. And here's more from Becerra.
It is our business to try to make sure Americans can prosper, Americans can freely associate, and knocking on a door has never been against the law. You don't have to answer, but we hope you do, because if you haven't been vaccinated, we can help dispel some of those rumors that you've heard.
It's the government's business. That's what Becerra is saying. But then the CNN host and Becerra ramp things up even more, talking about vaccine mandates and proof of vaccination. Becerra said with the Joe Biden administration, all of that is on the table. And then he added this.
Well, Brianna, you read off some of the comments of some representatives in Congress, and that particular type of thinking is not it's out there, and we want to give people a sense that they have the freedom to choose, but we hope they choose to live, and we're going to make it possible for them to have a good life. And by the way, protect their family and loved ones at the same time. We hope people make the right choices. We want them to have the right information, but we are America. We try to give people as much freedom and choice as possible.
This is unreal, folks. How many different times did he talk about the government granting you freedoms, the government allowing people to do things? The left have it all backward, and that is because they hate freedom. They hate personal responsibility. They want you to be subjects of the government. That's why Becerra, in those statements, he said regarding Crenshaw's and Biggs's comments that those were out there. And all Biggs and Crenshaw did was talk about freedom and responsibility. If you want to get the vaccine, great. But other people, they can get it too. It's their responsibility to do so. But again, the left attacks freedom. Now they think freedom and personal responsibility are fringe. That's what Becerra was saying. We know otherwise. We know differently. We know the freedoms come from God. We grant government certain freedoms, limited freedoms. Biden has it all wrong, yet that's what they're pushing. All right, now let's talk about Joe Biden's version of kids in cages. But first, if you're new to the show or haven't subscribed yet, regardless of platform, just search out my name, hit that subscribe button, make sure notifications are turned on. That way you can follow the show and help us grow. Okay, so now let's talk about Kids in Cages 2.0, because if you recall, during President Trump's administration, the media were criticizing nonstop. You have kids in cages. They're in terrible conditions. It's so inhumane. How can you do this? Well, now the situation is even worse. Unaccompanied minors are coming in by the tens of thousands. We can't handle it, and the Biden-Harris administration doesn't care. They just want the people. They just want them to come in, and now the situation is even worse for the children. Several whistleblowers have come forward describing these conditions, and here's the story. Immigrant rights groups lashed out at the Biden administration this week after a new whistleblower complaint from two volunteers at a shelter for illegal immigrant children said they'd seen tragic mismanagement and suffering youths. Lori Elkin and Justin Muller work as lawyers for the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission and were detailed as volunteers to help out at Fort Bliss, an emergency shelter set up in Texas to handle thousands of unaccompanied juvenile migrants who have jumped the border since President Biden took office. According to the whistleblower complaint filed on their behalf by the Government Accountability Project, they said they saw children living in filth amid an odor of sewage. Socks and underwear were in short supply, and children's needs were ignored. So why aren't we hearing about this? Where is the wall-to-wall coverage? This is such a humanitarian crisis, yet we hear nothing about it. Yet with President Trump, we had AOC wailing at the fences, saying this was so bad. Now we are hearing nothing from the Democrats or the media, and the conditions are even worse. And why? Because the left believes that allowing these people in, this open border strategy, this chaos, will lead to more power. And here's more. They each witnessed episodes in which contract staff questioned a child's request for medical attention and or made the child wait for hours before escorting the child to the medical or mental health tents for care. The Accountability Project complaint said, "We are traumatizing these kids. This is terrible. This is horrible," the employee said, according to Ms. Elkins. "People in Washington know, but this is an emergency situation and mistakes are going to happen." The complaints largely track with what a court-appointed monitor revealed late last month, but the whistleblowers are drawing attention as insiders who saw the operations up close for a month from early May to early June. This is a direct result of Joe Biden's failed policies. We should be telling these children, these families in these countries, apply at your country of origin. Do not send the kids because they will not be allowed in. We can't handle them. It is bad policy. They should be applying at home. You don't illegally cross first and then apply second. But Biden and Harris don't care. And because of that, you see these types of conditions. All right. So next, let's talk about this hate that the American left has against America. It continues. We saw this on the 4th of July weekend. Publication after publication, organization after organization, rather than talking about the 4th of July, coming together as Americans, they use the opportunity to bash America, bashing the national anthem, the American flag, even patriotism itself. Well, guess what? That continues. Now the Utah chapter of the BLM put out a Facebook post saying the American flag is a symbol of hate. Here's the story. When we Black Americans see this flag, we know the person flying it is not safe to be around. When we see this flag, we know the person flying it is a racist. When we see this flag, we know that the person flying it lives in a different America than we do. When we see this flag, we question your intelligence. We know to avoid you. It is a symbol of hatred. Can you believe this? That was an actual post on their official BLM Utah Facebook page. They said that if you're carrying an American flag, you are someone who is not safe to be around. And this is the motivation and actions of the left. They take these symbols that should unite us and turn them into weapons of division. That's what they're doing. And here's more. Chapter founder Lex Scott confirmed to Fox News that her group had made the post to highlight how hate groups can allegedly co-opt the American flag without prompting similar blowback. Ever since we put up the post, our page has been flooded with hatred from people who fly the flag, she said, and we want to thank those people for proving our point. You know, people should always be civil, but what kind of replies does she expect? When you say the American flag is a symbol of hate, you are going to get angry responses. You're going to get angry people. They know that. They are just trying to trigger this anger and say, uh-oh, look, these people are angry. They're hateful, and they're talking about the American flag. Again, we used to be able to debate or discuss political differences, philosophical differences, but still unite around being Americans. Now, they take everything that unites us and try to use it to divide us. Here's more of the story. When asked how she would respond to people who say the American flag is for all Americans, she said that those who are offended by her group's statement should take it up with hate groups like the Ku Klux Klan, which she said proudly wave Old Glory at their rallies. I would ask those people if they ever showed outrage when the Ku Klux Klan marched down the street holding that flag, if they ever showed outrage last week when Patriot Front, a white supremacist group, was marching through Philadelphia holding that flag. So people get outraged at the KKK because of their beliefs, not what flag they're carrying. They get outraged because what the KKK believes goes against American and Christian values. It doesn't matter what symbols they use. It's what they stand for. That's what people are opposed to. But the left, they try to co-opt symbols and say, just because someone's using it, you can't use that flag. It's now a symbol of hate. You can't make that OK symbol. That's a symbol of hate. Give me a break, folks. They try to twist everything and attack those things that bring us together. Faith, family, freedom, patriotism. We've seen it on display incredibly during the last couple of weeks, and it continues because that's what the left wants to do. Because in the absence of faith, family, freedom, and patriotism, all that's left to bring people together is government. And that's what socialists want. That's what the radical left wants. That's what communism wants, is government control. All right, so now take a look at this show. We've had Joe Biden going door to door checking on your vaccination status. We have terrible conditions for migrant children. And we've got Utah BLM saying the American flag is a symbol of hate. We need to ask them, do you have a relaxed brain?
I got what you call a relaxed brain.
Okay, first, to show you that no topic is off limits from the loony left, we're going to talk about food. That's right, food. In particular, exotic food. Because you can't call it exotic anymore because it might be racist. Here's the story. A food critic wants people to stop using the word exotic to describe foods because it reinforces xenophobia and racism. In a perspective piece published on Wednesday, Washington Post food critic J. Daniela Galarza argued that the word connotes non-European origins and diminishes other cultures. The first problem with the word is that probably within the past 2 decades, it has lost its essential meaning, she wrote. The second, more crucial problem is that its use, particularly as applied to food, indirectly lengthens the metaphysical distance between one group of humans and another, and in doing so, reinforces xenophobia and racism. See, the country has gone insane, but that's not all, folks. Now there are a group of woke geologists that say that there are not many black geologists because they are afraid to hold the classic geology hammer. A group of scientists say black Americans are scared to use hammers needed for geology because of fear they will be killed by police. Top geologists condemn systemic white supremacy in the field of geoscience, which concerns the study of earth and rocks, in a manifesto published at the scientific journal Nature Communications. The academics claim black people are hesitant to take up geology because they fear being killed while handling basic geology tools as a result of the stereotype associated with black people holding objects. I don't know what to say to that. It's like these groups get woke and they think everything is racist. We don't have a lot of black geologists. That means geology must be racist. Maybe people just don't want to be geologists. You ever think about that? It's just outrageous, but they bring in race into everything. That's why people are so outraged with critical race theory, because they are injecting race into everything instead of coming together as Americans. All right, so now let's look at some breaking news, some breaking headlines from the Babylon Bee. And if you were worried about Joe Biden's mental status, his staffers are even more concerned. Aides getting nervous as Biden's life alert button and nuclear launch button look remarkably similar. Oh no, I've fallen and You never know. And then there's health news. In health news, you know how the left is pushing for these altered birth certificates so you can choose something other than male and female. Well, now they are targeting death certificates. Check this out. Updated death certificates require choosing between COVID, climate change, or systemic racism as cause of death. So what can you even say? Gone are the days of good old natural causes. So what's going to be your undoing? Climate change or systemic racism? Folks, that's our show for today, but don't forget, if you're new to the show or haven't subscribed yet, regardless of platform, just search out my name, hit that subscribe button, make sure notifications are turned on. That way you can follow the show and help us grow. Thanks again for tuning in. I will be on vacation next week, but you won't miss out on anything because we are going to run special extended interviews that we've covered during our Saturday live streams. Most of you on Right Side Broadcasting have never seen these extended interviews, but we have Amanda Mackey, Terry Schilling, actor Dean Cain, and Mike Nificent from Right Side Broadcasting. So please tune into those at the usual time, starting on Monday. Until then, I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour. Okay, friends, thanks so much for watching. And before you go, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell so you'll be notified. And here's a special video just for you so you can watch even more of the 13-minute news hour. And don't forget to check out GOPUSA.com for the best in conservative news and commentary. We'll see you next time.